People of God, y'all doing all right? I'm doing all right. It's good. I'm glad. Thank you for asking. Today, I'm going to talk about war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. At the time of this recording, this is a Wednesday. It is February the something, February the 5th. And there was a news thingy with Netanyahu and President Donald Trump, and they were talking about the Gaza Strip. And the thing that was said in that meeting, that press conference, was quite disturbing to not just many Americans, but people from all over the world. Because guess what? History don't repeat itself, but it sure do rhyme. See you in 60. You good. You good. You good. You good. Don't stop it.
Bass.
It's the show that will get you thinking, and where the topics are hot. Feel free to comment whether we agree or not, 'cause he's got something to say.
Sirwalterj Jones. Sirwalterj Jones.
He's got something to say. Sirwalterj Jones.
Sirwalterj Jones.
Report live 7 days a week, always on time, but this time is not free. Sirwalterj Jones, always on sleep. Latest trending topics had you jumping out your seat.
He's got something to say.
Come on in. The water's fine.
Hello, everybody. Sirwalterj Jones Show. I'm here. It is the midday connection, baby. Hi, everybody's coming in. Water's fine. Y'all doing all right? Good to see y'all bunkers out there. All of y'all are here. It's so good to see y'all on the afternoon while y'all ain't at work. Today, we're going to do a history lesson, and we're going to talk about war. Today's show is about geopolitical unrest. Not so much about one man who sits in the executive branch, because he represents a whole nation. And so for those of you who are already going to be in the chat saying, oh, man, here you go talking about Donald Trump again. This is about United States, period. You see, whatever the man in the White House says or does represents the United States as a whole. It is likened to a person who is an envoy to the United States or an ambassador to the United States. When he goes over to Haiti, or when he goes over to some foreign land as an envoy, he is a representation of the United States. He speaks not for himself, but he speaks on behalf of the United States. Do you understand? So when Donald Trump speaks, he speaks on behalf of the United States, whether you voted for him or not. Whether you are white or whether you are black, whether you are Pentecostal, whether you are Baptist, you are maybe you're Catholic, Lutheran, Presbyterian, doesn't matter. When he speaks for all men. And this is why Canada cannot stand the United States right now. One man made a decision. We did not back that decision, but the United States did, because he was able to win his election and he's sitting in the executive seat. So when he speaks, he doesn't just speak for the 70 or some odd millions of people who voted for him. He's speaking for the several couple 100 million people who voted, period. Do you understand? And so the other nations are looking at us as to say, you all did that. So Canada is looking at us, China's looking at us, Mexico's looking at us and saying, what are you all doing? Especially Canada. Canada's like, what did we do to you all? We are your neighbors, and we sent our troops to help you fight in every war that you've had. And we import, we export together. We are your friends, and we love you, and we support you, and then you're going to turn around and do this to us. Using excuses that fentanyl is coming through the border. Well, 1% fentanyl, all the fentanyl in America, 1% up there. And so Canada said, okay, you know what? Listen, we're going to send some troops down there to kind of help y'all. We was going to do it anyway. We were doing it anyway during the Biden administration. We had in place to do this, but because y'all are pushing it so heavy, we're gonna do it anyway. And then Trump says, well, it's really a dog whistle to say it's about fentanyl. It's actually that he wants Canada to be a part of the United States. He wants a 51st state. That's really what he wants. And so Canada's like, man, I mean, come on, we've been boys for many years. How could you all allow this to happen? You understand? So what he's doing is he's representing the United States as a whole. Whether you voted for Democrat or whether you voted independent, unfortunately for some of you, Donald J. Trump speaks for all of us. All of us. So this show is about all of us and how war happens. History don't repeat, it just rhymes. Y'all understand? So for those of you who are not critical thinkers, you are going to be the ones in the comments section going after me because I'm going after your guy who you voted for. Listen, you can kiss his behind for the next 4 years. You can kiss the lame duck's behind all you want to. But today is for the intelligent people and critical thinkers to see how history played out, so that you can see how history is getting ready to play out again. And I think a great meme came across the screen. Who sent that? I think it was you. Where are you? Natalie, I think it was, sent this to a group that I'm in. This speaks perfectly. We are officially living out the part of history books that makes school kids say or ask, why didn't anyone do anything to stop this? I've often looked into the history books myself. Anybody else? And I would see how history played out. And I would, as a young man, I would say, this was allowed? How was this even allowed? How could a man like Adolf Hitler come to power? And the German people sit back and allow him to annihilate 6 million Jews right there in their front lawn. How could they let that happen? I mean, I sat back and I would read these history books as a young man and say, how is this happening right in front of you all? This embarrassing act. And then deny that, well, we didn't know. Because when the Allied nations came together to rescue the Jewish people and to finally take over Germany, split that thing, because this happened in World War I. You have to understand, Germany was a pest. They were mosquitoes all the way back to the 1800s. I'm gonna have to give y'all a little history here. Let's see if I can find a map. Listen, y'all. You've got to take history back to Great Britain. Okay? For those of you in Great Britain, I have some people here in Great Britain. I love y'all. But your granddaddies were imperialists. They were colonizers to the nth degree. This is a map of the domination of Great Britain. They were everywhere, you all. Every fourth person on earth owed his allegiance to Great Britain. Every fourth person did. Look at this map. Look at these flags. Great Britain was a world domination. Look at this. British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Islands, England, Scotland, Ireland. And, we already know about the United States and its colonies. Come on, man. Great Britain was a domination, and the United States is the child, is the favorite child, because the United States is only repeating. We got Guam, we got Puerto Rico, we got many of these little territories, and let's not even talk about this Panama Canal situation before and after, and what he wants to do next with it. Let's not even talk about the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, how does all this happen? What about Hawaii? Listen, almost everything we have, we stole, because we are the children of Great Britain. You saw the map here, right? But let me show you another map here for those of you who fell asleep in history class. Right here. This is a map here of, let's look at this as 1914. All right, 1914 is, let me pull this map out just a little bit so that y'all can see. All right, I don't know no other Christian YouTuber who's giving you history like this. I don't know no others. Am I wagging my tail? I am wagging my tail. Let me put myself down here, all right? Now look at this map here. It is quite stunning, this map. Quite stunning. Because what happened here was that Great Britain was, their domination happened because they were building these great ships. And these ships were like the weapons of mass destruction of what we have today. Nuclear warfare for them back then were ships. And these ships were going throughout the waters all over the world, and that's how they were able to dominate. They were ships, okay? And they were the Royal Army. Well, what was happening was Germany jumped in, and they began to build ships as well. And they began to travel throughout the world through these waterways. Great Britain was like, hey, that's cute. But Germany got too big. They became Imperial Germany. And it became an arms race of that day. And the arms race of that day were based off of their naval ships. They were just getting too big. So what was happening here was Germany was getting so big that they were disturbing the equilibrium of the European area. They just was messing up the balance of power that Great Britain had in many of these other nations. This was early 1900s. A powder keg was happening. One event caused World War I, but did it. We often go to Archduke Franz Ferdinand and the murder. We always go there, but it didn't just start there. It just something needed to be sparked to go pow, because a powder keg is something is already brewing up for that thing to just, it takes one spark. So Ireland played one part of that because Ireland wanted to be governed by Dublin, the southern part of Ireland. But the northern part wanted to be governed by Great Britain. So there was already a civil orientation or disobedience within the Great British empires already. So they were already fighting in themselves. Germany wanted so much domination before Hitler came on the scene. You have to understand, Hitler is a result. Hitler was just a little bitty boy during this time. All right, he was a nobody. Nobody knew who he was. So, but what happened in World War I is the exact cause of how Hitler became in power, because what happened after World War I and how Germany was treated. How they was treated. So, here, great Imperial German links up with Austria-Hungary. And they begin to have these allies as they begin to take over, because you have to understand, Germany and France hated each other. It goes back to the 1800s, and this is where they took Prussia. United States got its educational system from Prussia, by the way, for those of y'all who may not have known that. So Germany and France fought. Germany gets Prussia. France said, okay, we cool. France then decided to have an allegiance with Russia. It was something that should not have happened because they were polar opposites. But they did that because they was trying to show Germany something. Germany felt that they were surrounded by two powerful nations, and so Germany decided to link up with Austria-Hungary. All right, y'all learned this in grammar school. Okay. Well, there was a little fight happening down here in the Balkan area, the Bulgarians, and Serbia began to get too big. Germany didn't like it. And this is where the little incident that I brought up here, World War I, also known as the Great War, started here after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. Okay, down here. And this is where the split happens. His murder catapulted into a war across Europe that lasted until about 1918. During the 4-year conflict, Germany, right, Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria, and the Ottoman Empire, they all linked up. That's why you see the same color here. These were the Central Powers. And who do they fight against? They wanted to fight against Great Britain, but not yet. Not yet. So Great Britain, France, Russia, Italy decided to jump in. Romania, Canada, Japan, the United States, all these allied powers. And they this new military technology and this trench warfare and all these things, this was unprecedented. 16 million people died, y'all, because of this. Now, Italy, I thought I had the map up of doing all this drawing. Italy decided to stay out. Okay? Italy decided to stay out for a little while. They linked up with with Germany and Austria for just a little bit. And then they changed colors. When? In 1915. So how did this happen? Well, when you get to Germany, it's the dude that's always causing problems. Great Britain stayed out of the war as long as they could. Germany decides, you know what? I'm going to stir up the imbalance even more, so I'm going to take Belgium. Well, Belgium was protected by Great Britain. And when Germany decided to take Belgium, Great Britain says, all right, that's it. We're jumping in. When Great Britain jumped in, that means France, Russia, Serbia, Romania, Greece, Portugal, Ireland, and then eventually the allies of the West, which is the United States, Canada, and on, Japan jumps in. All right, this is 1914. Why am I doing all of this? Why am I bringing all this up? And what does it have anything to do with the Gaza Strip, Donald Trump, and Benjamin Netanyahu? History. Here's Israel. A little piece of land. Here's Syria. Here's Lebanon. Here's Egypt. And right up in here is the Gaza Strip. Okay? That is a powder keg. The Gaza Strip is the shooting of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. You see, there was already problems in all those nations that I just brought up. It took the shooting of two people on that carriage ride to cause World War I. Gaza Strip could possibly be the spark that causes the next one. Do you understand? And it all has to do with somebody meddling. Meddling. In whose business? Somebody else's business. You see, the United States cannot bring democracy to a European nation. Why? Come close. Because we tried it in Iraq. We tried it in Afghanistan. We even tried it in Haiti, and we got our butts ran out of there. You see? History don't repeat itself. It only rhymes. So you want to now go to the Gaza Strip and put up another Vegas and try to bring democracy to an area, geographical area that don't know nothing about the democratic republic style of governing in the United States do not work in European nations, especially in Arab nations. It don't work. We saw that it didn't work. George Bush became a laughingstock and an embarrassment because it didn't work. It just didn't work. So the problem here is, one problem I do see is that Netanyahu came over here. When he got on the airplane, he was supposed to have been arrested because Netanyahu was a war criminal. Anybody know that? Anybody know that? Netanyahu is a war criminal. Even though it was retaliated, it was a retaliation thing, but he went over and beyond, and it became against the Geneva Convention, what he was doing, him and Putin. You understand? So it became a problem. So he was able to fly here because the United States protected him. So now he's sitting there, and Donald Trump says something that Yahoo wasn't expecting. He says, we can build some hotels over there, the next Riviera, on and on. And if you look at Yahoo's face, he smirks because he didn't expect it. Meanwhile, there's 1.8 million people over there who have been displaced. So Trump says, get them out of there. Where you gonna send them? You gonna send them to Egypt? Egypt ain't taking them. They said, nope, we don't want them. You send them to Syria. We don't want them. They sure ain't coming to Israel. So what we gonna do with them? So Trump said, we will remove them, displace them, build it back up. It may take 10, 20 years. And then he didn't say bring them back. No, the reporter had to ask, then what are you going to do with them? He said, oh, well, people can come. World people can come. And they pushed him. He said, well, yeah, and the Palestinians can come too. That answer told you something. His answer was loud and clear. We saw it here in Chicago, and maybe some of where you all live. Chicago wanted this piece of land. And that land, that little piece of land, is on the north side, well, near north, called Cabrini Green. Cabrini Green is where black folks moved. But that's after the Italians and the Germans and maybe the Polish, I can't remember who was over there. After it was such a slum. Black people didn't create the slum. Those foreigners who came here on Ellis Island and came over there, they created the slum. And when they moved out, black people moved in because this city saw that there was a black migration of black folks coming to the north. It was in 2 phases, especially the second phase in 1940s. It was too many of them coming here, and they had to put them somewhere. Some of them moved in Bronzeville. Many of them did, and some of them moved over there, and they decided to build high-rises in the 1950s. Mm-hmm. And so they built up Stateway, Robert Taylor Home, Henry Horner, Cabrini Green. Many of these high-rise, and many of you have those high-rises up in your towns if you live up north, especially in New York and Detroit maybe and what have you. Mm-hmm. All right. So, Cabrini Green is where black people lived, and it was a place where it was a blight. It just was a blight on Chicago. And let me tell you, white folks been wanting that area there for years because it was too close to downtown. Too close to downtown. So what did they do? They said, we're going to move you all out. Move you out of Cabrini Green. And then we're going to build lower affordable apartments for you all and then move you all back in. Can I ask y'all a question? Can you tell me if that happened? Did it happen? We're going to move you back in. And so they moved them out, pushed them to the suburbs. They tore down Cabrini. They built them back up, lower rise, and they built them and they charged a price that even I couldn't afford to move. And most of the people who were there couldn't come back. If you got arrested 30 years ago for anything, you couldn't move back in there. If you were a mother and you had 3-4 children and one of those children got arrested for anything, you couldn't move back in there. This is exactly what Donald Trump was saying about the Gaza Strip. He was saying, don't worry, we'll move y'all out, we'll build it up, and then you all can come back in. That is the biggest lie that people of power always tell poor people. So what will happen if the United States decides with some kind of clearance, and this is coming from a man who said that he was a man of non-war. How can you take over an area if there is no violation of a people, if there is no takeover, if there is no war? Because look at Greenland. How are you going to get it without war? Panama, how are you going to get it without war? Canada, how are you going to get it without war? Gaza Strip, how are you going to get it without war? So I think you all were fooled by the rhetoric, but then again, you wasn't, because he's only speaking to his constituents. This is what you wanted. You wanted this. So you got this. And this is why so many of you all are protecting him. That's why I'm reading in the comment section. Clarence said, you're my guy, but I never saw you do one video on all the extreme Biden, Harris, which Clarence haven't been watching the show for the 10 years that I spoke in detail against the policies of Barack Obama and Biden. I told y'all, you all are going to come over here and get upset with me because of somebody you all voted for, and it hurts you, and I get it. Listen, brother and sister, there's a couple of y'all here. I know it hurt you when somebody's talking about your daddy or your brother or somebody you love so much that they can't do no wrong. That you've got to, if there's this pain you feel when a mother have a baby and that baby is ugly. And people are looking at that baby saying, that's a special baby. Nobody's saying that that's a pretty baby. And it seems like everybody's saying that that baby is just special. And then you're hearing a couple of people saying that that baby is ugly. And you feel some kind of way because that's your baby. That's your baby. And so when you get into that mode, you can't remember anything I said about all this other stuff I dislike. You can't remember none of it, especially if you're new to the channel. You've never heard it because you didn't want to hear any of it because I'm talking about your ugly baby. So I can't pander to you all when you come over here and support me. I still got to tell you the truth. These other presidents have never done anything like this. And the only time I'm going to talk about Donald Trump is when I know it will affect you financially or eschatologically. I told y'all that just yesterday on the show, the day before that. Didn't I tell y'all that? I said, I am not going to be sitting up here every day doing a show on Donald Trump. Remember I said that? I said, unless it affects y'all where I've got to tell y'all, be careful. Be careful. Come on, Oscar. They can't handle the dirty dozen. So I must warn you, or what kind of pastor am I? Huh? What kind of pastor am I if I can't warn you because I don't want to hurt your feelings? Please. Not doing that. So he's telling y'all that I'm going to build this up and I'm going to remove 1.8 million people. They got nowhere to go because the other nations are not accepting them. What's going to happen to them? So they're going to stay there. And then if he have his way, he's going to push them out into the abyss. That's what Chicago did with those who lived in the projects. They were pushed into the abyss. They were pushed in these suburban areas. Many of them became homeless for power. Became homeless because of power. And so you evangelicals who keep saying, I love God and I love the poor and the needy and those women who, I'm standing in front of the Planned Parenthood door, making sure that you don't stomp out your baby. And y'all reading scriptures about mercy and justice and all this stuff, giving us stories of Israel and in Syria and freeing the children of Israel, blah, blah, blah. And you all are repeating almost everything that we see how God rebuked the Israelites for. This same stuff. We're actually doing the same thing God rebuked Israel for. And what he did was he had to punish them and push them into the arms of the Assyrians and the Babylonians and the Egyptians. On and on for what United States is doing right now. And because somebody called your baby ugly, you're attacking Sirwalterj Jones. And I love the attacks. I eat them up for breakfast. Here is a map. Here. A map that I brought up over the last 10 years because a lot of you who are going against me are new to the show, so if you've never seen my kind of teaching. And that's too bad. I'm sorry you've never seen my kind of teaching. All right? So this map here is Ezekiel 37, 38. You could even go to 39. And I told y'all how it talks about Gog up here. I believe that's Russia person. Speak to Gog. I believe that Moscow is probably Magog. Okay. And we saw Tubal, Rosh, which may be another word for Russia or Russia. And we see in the end days, whether it's before the tribulation or whether it's during the tribulation, we see a whole lot of unrest. And all of this unrest is based off of one little area right here. And who is it? Barack Obama was meddling in this thing. Well, let's go back to Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was meddling in Israel's affairs and with Egypt and what have you. And Barack Obama got in there and was meddling. That's why the evangelicals hated him, because they was meddling with Israel. And then when they brought Donald Trump in, he said he was going to be a friend of Israel. All right. Well, Biden was a friend of Israel with some deviations. You see, the problem with the American Christian is this. George, tell him to come close. The problem with the American Christian, as it pertains to Israel, is that you all read a scripture, and that scripture was talking about praying for the peace of Jerusalem. You all read that, and that's all you knew to quote in church. The problem is that you are praying for the peace of Jerusalem, but what you're also doing is protecting war crimes against other people. Because, you really could live in from the river to the sea is what they say. That means all of Israel belongs to the Jewish people. Listen, fine. If that's how you interpret that promise, by all means, go ahead and get your promise in. I believe that there could have been a two-state solution where people could have lived in peace, but unfortunately, they could not, based off of World War I, World War II, and how the United States and Great Britain and France jumped in there and meddled. Hence, we get the Ashkenazi Jews, and how they just had to spread out here, spread out there, and that nationalistic word that we keep bringing up. All what's going on today has everything to do with what happened over 100 years ago. You understand? So the American Christian protects Jewish people even when they do wrong. Even when they do wrong. And this is what's happening right now. Even when they commit war crimes. You see, Hitler came to power because Germany and Hitler both had the same enemy, the Jewish people. Mein Kampf was about his hatred. And Hitler borrowed from the United States when it even came to eugenics and how to wipe out a people. Hitler hated those people. So the enemy of mine enemy is my friend. Hitler was beating on the table like Donald Trump was in 2015, going down that escalator. He beat on the table and said, they're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're murderers, and some of them might be good people. Hitler almost said the same words. And he brought up the phrase blood. And he was specifically speaking about the Jewish people. Donald Trump was specifically speaking about the Mexican people. Same spirit. The German people heard him and say, you know what? I think you on to something. And they boosted Hitler to this place of power. And he began to annihilate and wipe out and gas these people and shoot them and all kind of stuff. And they was like, hey, we don't see nothing. We don't see nothing. We don't see nothing. Until it was too late. that meme, go back to it. The children in the future are going to ask, why didn't nobody do anything about this? So, going back to the map, Ezekiel chapter 37, 38 talks about these wars. And what we saw yesterday in that news brief is how wars start. So, what's going to happen, y'all? Well, as you look at this map, if you look at the Bible, that is, Turkey will get involved. And they say that's the birthplace of civilization, Mesopotamia. Okay. Turkey, the Bible mentions Put. That's Libya. The Bible mentions Sudan. That's here. The Bible mentions, let's go here, Elam. That's Iran. And these nations, God says he's going to put a hook in them. Turkey, Libya, Sudan. These are African nations, by the way. Iran. Going to come together and attack one little small piece of land with the help of Magog through Gog, the leader. Right now, Putin is Gog. He may not be alive during this time. Okay? I'm just interpreting. And then it talks about the ships of Tarshish from the what? From the west. That's over here, you all. And that could mean Spain. That could mean France. That could mean Great Britain. That could also go even further, west, United States. At the time of this recording, United States is in a trade war, in a sense, with Canada. Canada, Mexico, United States have been partners. But if we allow Donald Trump and those in Congress to allow him to continue to break rules and regulations and ordinances and relationships, we're going to lose Canada and we're going to lose Mexico. We're going to lose them. And we're going to have a fight on our hands, and this is one reason probably why we don't see the United States in Bible prophecy. Because maybe somehow the United States will either be wiped out or the United States will have to make an allegiance with one of the European nations in order to survive. China obviously will get involved. And let's see, Japan, y'all already know what our relationship with them is. Okay? There's a hotbed issue going on with China as it pertains to Taiwan. We know that. That little piece of land right there is what's going to trip the United States and China up. Which Biden had his hands all into that. I don't know. Trump might do something about that. I don't know. But China, okay? And then you've got issues here when it comes to the Euphrates River. And you see in history where God is going to allow the river to be dried up, and these armies, these nations are going to march over dry land over into destruction, try to take out this one little piece of land, which is Israel. All right? And then God then is going to speak when all these things happen. God then is going to speak. Rodney, I can't stand you, man. You know, I can't stand Rodney B. Rodney B comes over here just to see what I'm going to talk about Trump. He don't come to none of my Bible studies, none of them. He never shows up to a Bible study Boy, when I talk about Trump, I think he gets up every morning and says, now is Walter Jones going to speak about my guy. And he hears the notification. Here he talking about the Bible. I don't want to watch that mess. I don't want to watch that mess. Ronnie Buchanan, boy, I tell you, he goes on Facebook. He looks to see. Man, let's see now. Let me see what's on Walter's wall. Let's see what's. Oh wait. Oh no, that looked like Trump. That wasn't Trump. I'm telling you, man, these people here, they baby is ugly, and if I say anything ugly about their baby, they coming. So, history again, y'all. It may not repeat itself, but it sure do rhyme. So here's that meme again. We are officially living out the part of history books that makes school kids ask, why didn't anyone do anything to stop this? Why? Richard said, some of your shows make me cringe. I appreciate you, man. Yeah. Why did nobody do anything about this? All right. Listen, y'all, it's tough. It's tough to live in a nation today where we are so divided. We are more divided than I have ever seen in my life. But here's the thing about the division that we are all in is we've always been divided. It just needed a spark. It needed a spark. Prejudiceness, racism, whether it was covert or overt, structured racism within your business and your corporations and what have you, it's always been there in the educational system. Those of you who are in medicine, that your nurses and your doctors, always been in that. Obviously in politics, it's always been there. It just took the right spark for you all to see it. But it was doo-doo laying in the grass and it got hard. And my daddy said, don't step on that. Why? It's hard. Okay. It's a hard shell, but it's some soft stuff up in there. And you step on that doo-doo, son, you're going to realize, well, I was disobedient. And I stepped on the doo-doo. And boy, did I smell it. It was all in my shoe. Everywhere I walked, it followed me because it was right up under my foot. We are walking on doo-doo. And it's under our feet. And all we got to do is take our shoes off and take the holes and spray it. Yeah, John Hagee is another one. John Hagee was my favorite. He taught me so much about scripture and end time. John Hagee. But John Hagee created Kufi, Christian United for Israel. And as I began to study Kufi, I realized how the Kufi was. Because they stand with Israel to an unhealthy level. Unhealthy. Yeah, Joyce, I brought it in the house. I brought that doo-doo in the house because I brought it in the house and sat my shoes by the door and we smelled it all through the house. So now I have to unlearn. I have to break relationships with people. I have to cut these things. I have to cut people off. I got to cut them off, y'all. And this is what you need to do. Some of you are around people who have kept you in poverty, both spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, for years. And you typically are the people you live around. You really are. You are the people you worship with. You are. And you follow, healthy people hang around healthy people. I had a cheeseburger today. I don't do that all the time because it's just too much. But today I wanted one so bad, so I ate a Checkers cheeseburger and some fries, and I felt like I was eating dirt. I felt like I was eating dirt. I was like, "What is this?" And I remember why I don't eat at certain burger joints. It's because my palates are used to good quality food. And I began to eat that. And I said, "Oh," and it came with some chicken nuggets or something like that. And I ate those, and I was like, I gave it to my baby girl. I said, "Baby girl, here we got some extra chicken nuggets." And she looked at it. She said, "That's nasty." I said, "How you know?" She said, "I had it before." It don't even taste like chicken. I said, "Stop, girl, you young folk." I said, "Oh, you're right. This is horrible." She said, "Yeah, I don't even give it to my boys. Don't even give it to my." And I had to throw all that stuff in the garbage. Garbage. It's garbage. I was used to quality, real food. And when I put that in my mouth, it all just tastes like garbage. And this is how we are. This is how we should be, actually. That your palate should be so sensitive that you're supposed to be able to sense garbage. Because many of us are really bad fruit inspectors. So we examine people because the scripture says to first know them that labor among you, but you know a tree by the fruit that it bears. You see that kind of fruit. But the problem is inspecting the fruit. That's what the problem is. And some of us have such poor palates. This is why I never shop in my neighborhood. I know it seems wrong. I'm talking about food. I never buy food in my neighborhood because all of it is garbage. These Asian shops, when I say Asian, I mean Pakistani and Indian, what have you, because our shops are not in our neighborhoods, unfortunately. And they set up these shops in our neighborhoods. And I went to this was several years ago, tells you how long I've eaten in my neighborhood. And I went to one of the shops. I said, I'm going to support my neighborhood. And I went there and I ordered something on the menu. It was on the wall there. I saw the menu and I said, let me get that. And I kept looking at it and I looked close and it was a fish, something, catfish. And I said, that picture looks so strange. I don't know, but and so I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. I mean, it was long. I'm like, you know what? I could have made me a full course meal as long as I've been waiting here. And a guy got his food and I saw the man putting the food in the guy's plate, in a plastic thing, and he put it, and I looked at the same thing that I ordered and I said, oh my God, that's not real. And I said, cancel my order, please. Cancel my order, will you please? Thank you. You sure? Yes. I'm gone. I never shopped in my neighborhood since then. It wasn't real. Some of you all are around people who just ain't real. They just ain't real. They're part of a herd mentality, and they could eat any kind of food. How many of y'all know people like that? They will eat any kind of food at any restaurant. All those low quality restaurants, they'll eat this. This is so good. And when you buy it, you're like, what is this? My great uncle came to the neighborhood one time. And I remember, I'll never forget this. I would shop at the Chinese restaurant up the street. It said Chinese. I ate there because it was just good food to me. He said, nephew, why don't you buy me a plate? He gave me some money. I went up there and brought the plate to him, and he been to it one time. He said, nephew, what is this garbage? I said, that's good. He said, nephew, you should know better. You a Jones. We eat quality food. This is garbage. Because I was young, I was used to eating all that neighborhood food, and I didn't even know the difference between quality food and bad food because my palate had not graduated to quality. So as I moved out the neighborhood, I moved into another area I moved to South Dakota. I moved to South Dakota where the food was different. It was different. Even a national chain like a Popeye was more quality in that white neighborhood than it was in the black neighborhood. Because when I would go to Popeyes in the black neighborhood, the biscuit was always hard and burnt. The chicken was hard and extremely greasy, and the fries was hard and just, I don't know. But I was shopping the white neighborhood. The food was just fresh. I couldn't understand that. I mean, it's the same business. It's pop to the eye. How can it taste differently in that neighborhood than it do over here? I couldn't understand it. I went to South Dakota and I just would eat at quality places. And then I realized my great uncle was right. He had a different palate. He had a different palate. So I removed those places off my menu. I don't eat there anymore. I don't shop there anymore. I just don't. And so you all need to cut folks off. You need to cut your surroundings off. They ain't doing nothing but keeping you down. They're not educating you. You're not learning anything. You're getting even more healthier. Your mentality is you're becoming dumber. And your finances, your wallet is burning a hole in it because you're around people who are just poor. Poor. So what are we going to do, y'all? Thank you, Denise Wiggins. You're always supporting my brother. You're always encouraging me. What are we going to do? Well, if you care about politics, which I'm not going to say I don't care. I care because politics can affect people who are not on my mental level. All right? I didn't care who was going to win. I was going to make some money on whoever it was. I really didn't care. But then I did care about people who were going to be affected by it. I cared about them. So the next 2 years, the midterm elections will come. And then for those of you who feel the pain that you lost something, here's your opportunity to make sure that the legislative branch get back to an equilibrium. Because right now it's like this. So there's not much guardrails. The only guardrails that is against Donald Trump are the federal judges. When he breaks the Constitution, then he's sued. That's the guardrails that we do have. And some of those who went against him some of these judges were put in office by Ronald Reagan. It's hilarious. It's really hilarious. All right. So you got an opportunity in the midterm election. Boo-boo, do what you got to do. Meanwhile, I ain't waiting for that. I'm not waiting for that. We're in the finance room over on Patreon, and we're doing what we can. We're going to do what we can. The finance room is a place chock full of information for people who care about their monies. And if you're in the stock market, or if you're into cryptocurrency, or you're buying gold or silver or whatever you want, there's a place on Patreon for you if you care about your money, right? And we're going to be all right. I just dropped something a few minutes before this show on which coins that I'm buying. And I'm a long-term holder. And I expect my retirement to be pretty decent. All right? But right now, I suffer so that I can win. I don't splurge. I don't spend money everywhere. I just don't do it. I don't. I save. I invest. And I don't go on exotic trips. Y'all can keep going on those boat trips all you want to. I'm saving my money. Nope. I'm not gonna get out on that Riviera, on that water and get sick. Because I get sick. I get seasick. I'm not going out there and spend all that money just to get sick for 5, 6, 7, 8 days. I'm not doing that. No. Eventually, I'm gonna take a boat. Don't worry about that. But right now, I ain't spending my money on sailing and boat trips and stuff like that and cruises. No, man. No. That money that I could spend on the boat, I'm gonna put it into some kind of investment. Right now, Palantir is up. I just made a killing on Palantir. I bought it at I think $70 is now $100 right now. Palantir. It's on its way even further up. Yeah, there's going to be some correction here and there, but I told y'all about Palantir. I told y'all about Palantir 2 months ago. I said, y'all need to buy some Palantir when it was like $60. Remember I told y'all that? It's at $100 right now. And I bought a few shares in that, and I'm already up 40%. Man, I'm telling you, I'm doing all right. Okay? So hang out in the finance room, and you'll be all right. What you say here? Yeah, y'all see Jamal Bryant told his congregation, to fast, target, and sell. Man, these pastors, these preachers are going to send y'all straight to bankruptcy court. I've changed to 70. I'm eating baked chicken, bed of arugula with a sprinkle of fat. Go ahead, girl. Tell us all your menu. What's on your menu? Virginia said cruising is fun. Yeah, I'm sure it is. But I'm gonna save my money for now. I'll be joining y'all eventually, but right now, I'm not getting sick and paying all this money. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. It's crazy. There's people on Capitol Hill that's been up there 80 years. Yep, and Canes and Walker. Yeah. What's his name? Tim. What's his name? Kennedy. Something Kennedy. That Congressman Kennedy talked about cracking eggs. He said, I like omelets more than I like sex. Oh man, he looked like I think he about 95 years old. I said, Kennedy, man, come on. Y'all are old and stupid and foolish and you're nasty, you old, dirty, nasty old man. Just to make a point about what Trump is doing is something that we need. I have never seen the chaos. I've never seen anything like this before. But let me tell y'all, if America have their way with the Gaza Strip, you all are laughing right now. And you all are saying, don't worry about it right now. But let me tell you, you better hear from old Uncle Sir. History may not repeat itself, but it is rhyming more than I've ever seen before. So you can laugh and say what ain't gonna happen. And you can keep putting your trust in one man. All right? You keep doing that. But the day is gonna come when you're gonna try to find this video and send it to your folks and say, he warned us. He warned us. Should I get rid of my books on Hagee? Well, the books on Israel, throw that in file 13. Because I had several books on Hagee, and several of those books did make it to the garbage can. If he's speaking on Israel, that's worth a good forest fire. Yeah, Senator John Kennedy. He said, I like omelets more than I like sex. Dirty old man. All right? So, I've been on here long enough. I see over Patreon. Meanwhile, let me say these 8 words. I don't know how many words this is as I go. I had a question of the day, but I guess I'll deal with that tomorrow. Somebody wanted me to deal with Matthew chapter 25. Deal with, I don't know, Charles Johnson, are you here? Can you do a teaching on Matthew 24:15? I'll have to do that later. I think I've been on here too long as it is. And I have Bible study in Evanston tonight. We're expecting snow, so I don't know if we're going to still have it or not, but we'll see. Let me say this for those of you who feel that you have been robbed when you went into the voting booth. You feel that the man who was there is ruining us with our allies, which he is. Our friends are upset with us. They're singing the Star Spangled Banner. We are over there in Canada, and they're booing our athletes over there. And Canada, Mexico's going to turn. Before you know it, Great Britain's going to turn. And many of our other allies will turn on us. And then the end will come. So I'd like to say to you all who voted, however you voted. Thank you, Joyce, about that. Thank you. For those of you who voted, don't hate the player. Hate the founding fathers.
Fellas, does it seem like you can't get a good woman? Ladies, wonder why you can't keep a man? Then read The 4 Women That Men Desire, Volume 1, by Sirwalterj to figure out how to break the cycle. Go to Amazon.com to get your copy today.